2 games into the 2024-25 AHL season, and it's been a pretty good start for the Belleville Senators, who are set to return home this week for a home opener weekend presented by CAA at CAA Arena, and the Sens return on the heels of picking up 3 points out of 4 in their season-opening trip to Western and upstate New York, and a lot of positives to draw from a couple of really good games against divisional opponents. We'll break that down this week and a whole lot more on this episode of the Belleville Sens podcast. Hi, everybody. David Foote here, Brock Ormond alongside, as always. The guys are just scattering out onto the ice here for practice on this Wednesday, the 16th of October. And we are in the Jack Miller Press Box and Media Center as the guys file out here, and good energy around the group right now. Brock, good energy around the city with hometown hockey set to return this weekend, just a few days away. Yeah, it's only a few days away now after all the countdown and all the anticipation. It's coming very quickly, and it's here in 3 days' time, and this is what everybody's been waiting for here since last May when the Sens played their last home game. So exciting stuff, and it should be something to build off of that home opener split, 3 points out of a possible 4. Not a bad run at all, and a good outing overall against Rochester and Syracuse. 2 teams that always play Belleville tough, and the Sens give it right back to them, and they did that on the weekend. So a good foundation to build off of, and good building blocks for sure, because that was 2 pretty good games, and Coach David Bell was very impressed with his team's effort. Yeah, and we will break down those 2 games here this week. We'll hear from Jan Yannick, one of the newest Senators, scored his first goal in a Belleville uniform in the second game last weekend in Syracuse, at Belleville's only goal in regulation time, and in the shootout for that matter. We'll also hear from new Belleville Sens defenseman Wyatte Wylie, in from the Ontario Reign, also spent a few years with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and we'll get a midweek checkup with head coach Dave Bella on preparations for the home opener weekend presented by CAA coming up on Saturday and Sunday. A quick housekeeping before we get going. The usual reminder to please subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Throw us a 5-star rating and a review. And if you haven't got your tickets yet for this weekend, get on it. Ticketmaster.ca anytime, or head to BellevilleSens.com and check the box office hours with tickets on sale now for Saturday's game against the Utica Comets, AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils, 7 p.m., and Sunday afternoon's matinee against the Syracuse Crunch, the AHL affiliate of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who we will learn a little bit more about in this opening segment, because Belleville's already seen the Syracuse Crunch this season. So again, Ticketmaster.ca. We'd love to see a full barn here to welcome the boys back to town officially. The player red carpet arrivals beginning around 3:30 on Friday. The Fan Fest at 4. Noisemaker giveaway courtesy of CAA. Sunday we've got the free full team autograph signing after the game. So lots happening around the rink this weekend, and we are really pumped to get going with that, and again, to have fans back in the building here. Let's talk about opening weekend, Brock. Sens departed on Thursday for Rochester, played there on Friday night, and picked up a 3-2 victory in their season opener. Back-to-back years, they've spoiled the home opener of their opponent to open the season. Not quite the same, I suppose, as blanking the Hershey Bears on a banner night, but always nice to go into Rochester and pick up a win, and always good to have a victory right off the bat. Yeah, and it's important because Rochester is a division rival, so anytime you can take 2 points away from a division rival at any point in the season, whether it's game 1, game 50, game 72, it's always huge and essential, and Belleville certainly got themselves off on the right foot in that victory. And nice to see Phil Daou get a game-winning goal. That was a long time coming for him, and again, it's as he plays the game tough right in front of the net and not afraid, even though he's dealt with a myriad of injuries over the last couple of years since he came to pro. He's not afraid to put himself in there, get his body in front of the net, and really crowd out the goaltender, and he did that, and then he was there to scoop the rebound and ends up with the game-winning goal out of it. So an outstanding little play from him, and overall Belleville played well in that game on Friday. Just simply did all the little things right defensively. They were strong.
Coach Bell, after the games, told you he was very impressed with the overall effort, but also specifically on the defensive end to really box out Levi Marilyn and to make his job a lot easier. And the Belleville Sens end up with a victory out of it. And spoiling Rochester's home opener. Anytime you can leave the fans there grumbling going back home, it's absolutely huge. And the Sens certainly did that. And even though their top guys like Crookshank, Halliday et al. Weren't really a factor on the offensive front, they will be eventually. So just wait until those guys really get going.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at who did score. You mentioned Filda, who gets the game winner. Big one for him after he only played a handful of games in each of the last 2 years. Cole Reinhardt scores on opening night. That's becoming a theme, really, for Rhino in his career here with the Belleville Sens. And Xavier Bourgault gets on the board in his Belleville Sens debut. You talk about the guys who are going to be looked to run the offense, basically, and make it move. And this is a guy that after, scores in game one, had a pretty good game in game two. This is a guy that is certainly going to be right in the thick of the Belleville Sens points race, or at least he should be, based on what we've seen through a couple of games. For sure, and overall it was just an outstanding offensive effort. Even though there was only 3 goals, they still did just enough to push themselves and push Rochester to the brink. Guys like Bourgault and Reinhardt, too. Cole Reinhardt making a milestone out of it, getting his 100th point on Friday night, which was awesome. And, Xavier Bourgault is a guy that's going to be so tough to really beat because he's shifty. And we've talked about that in the training camp in the preseason. He's very, very shifty. He's hard to knock off the puck. And overall, the trade to get him for Roby Yarventi may just work out for both sides. Yarventi's in a high-wheeling system in Bakersfield now in Edmonton. And then you got Bourgault coming here to Belleville for a fresh start after being drafted a couple years ago by the Edmonton Oilers and never really seemed to click over the last couple seasons of pro. But he's here now, and he's got that experience, and he now understands what it's like to make it and also to stay and be effective in the AHL. And so far it seems like Belleville is a good spot for him, but still a ways to go, and he needs to keep learning from the coaching staff because especially on the forward front, Stefan Legion, very similar type player, so he can learn a lot from him. Yeah, and you mentioned Levi Marilyn, and the guys did a heck of a job in front of him. Letting him see the puck, allowing him to make 22 of 24 saves, but also just getting in front of the puck. Like, I don't think I've seen a team commit to shot blocking so early in a season with what seems to be little to no regard for their own safety or bodies. That's usually something you see in February, March, April, down the stretch where you're battling, you're grinding, you've been through the rigors of the season for the most part, and you're tight with the guys, and you want to do everything you can to help the team win. But that attitude, that effort, as was talked about all through training camp, has been here from day one, and we certainly saw that translate, I think, from practice into gameplay on the weekend. Absolutely, and the sacrifice that it takes, it just goes to show that this team, you heard all the guys last year when they completed their exit interviews, they said this was the tightest team. Most of them, pretty much all of them, said this was the tightest team they've ever been on. This year it seems like that's carried right over, and guys are sacrificing, blocking shots, like you said, and laying the body out and in defense of each other. And that can only mean good things for your chemistry and your team unity in the future. Nobody's bigger than the team, but of course, you got your guys that you rely on, like Captain Garrett Pilon, and that's the kind of environment he set already. Is you got to play for each other and play for yourself and be happy when you do well, but also as a team you got to band together, especially early on when you know how important these games are against teams like Rochester and Syracuse. Utica's coming up this weekend, Syracuse again. So these points are so valuable. It doesn't matter if it's middle of October or mid-April when the playoffs roll around and you're looking for those last few points. It's so important to get off on the right foot, and it seems like that environment's been cultivated already by the likes of Pilon and Max Gannett and all the leadership group members, and it's outstanding to see. We will talk here about the Syracuse game as well, a little bit lower scoring, but one thing that is shone through 125 minutes of Belleville Sens hockey as well as the special teams. Sens in the opener in Rochester last Friday went 2 for 6 on the power play, so 33.3%, and then perfect 5 for 5 on the kill. on Friday, and then a perfect 7 for 7 on the kill in Syracuse on Saturday night as well. So Belleville has the top penalty kill in the AHL over a couple of games. I know I was kind of joking about it a bit during that Syracuse game, but it's nothing to shake your head at. And if you talk to Dave Bell, and we will later on in the program, he'll tell you how important it is to find that success on the special teams early in a season and try to keep yourself out of a rut and getting snake bit there.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the flip side of things, if you're in the box too much, it can eventually come back to bite you and start to really rack up. But then on the flip side of that, the penalty kill was outstanding, and that's exactly what's needed. And sometimes even if you're not taking as many penalties, you still have to have a good unit and get in lanes and block shots and do all that. And it seemed like it really was effective in that those first 2 games of the season. And yeah, the penalty kill was outstanding. And once the Sens really start getting power plays working, the special teams are going to be a real strength for this group, I feel, this year. And it had its moments last year, and this season it seems like, as Belleville says, that a lot of those guys think they can be a contender in the American Hockey League and in the North Division. So it all starts with good 5-on-5 play first, but the special teams are going to need to be very, very crucial because there's a lot of teams that can really fly high and put the puck in the net in this division.
Saturday, the Sens were in Syracuse, a 2-1 shootout loss to the Crunch, and always tough when you go into Syracuse. I think coming into last season, the B-Sens had only won there 3 times, but then they won there 3 times last year. And that sits with, the Crunch fans, because they do not like when Belleville comes to town, but also those returning players as well. That matchup Saturday was basically what we expected it to be: tight checking, hard-hitting, defensive, and both teams relying on their goaltenders, who were very good. Matt Sogard stops 28 of 29 in regulation and 2 of 3 in the shootout. Scoring was really the issue, if you will, both in regulation and the shootout against the Crunch. But a problem that we were talking about before we came on is not likely going to last for this group when you look at the roster.
No, absolutely not. And Dave Bell said that in the opening media conference last week. He said that this team has a lot of depth and a lot more depth that can score, and it helps having Stephen Halliday for a full season. Like we said, he'll get going eventually because it's still early on, and he didn't get a shot in the first 2 games, but that's nothing at all, not an indictment at all against his play. You got Cruikshank. Once he gets going, he'll be outstanding. Bourgault, of course, already has scored. Yannick is going to be crucial. Up and down the lineup, even the defense too. Max Canet put up quite a few points last year. Mm-hmm. Eventually, he'll get going. All that will start to fly. But the Sens really had to grind it out against Syracuse. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. Coming off a game the previous night, an emotional one, getting that home opener win in Rochester, and then they go into Syracuse, and they already don't like Belleville too much. They Ron Angus Cruikshank last year, as you mentioned, and he got a shootout chance and didn't score, but it was overall a solid game for Belleville defensively. Again, Coach Bell afterwards said he was quite proud of the defensive effort, and Matt Sogard this time was the beneficiary, and he was great in that game. Made 30 saves, kept the team in it, and it was just an all-around outstanding effort. Got a point out of it, went to the skills competition, which is pretty much a crapshoot, as everybody knows, and in the end, all it took was 1 goal, and that was the difference. And it was an outstanding effort, but continuing that into Utica this weekend and Syracuse as well is paramount, and you got to expect that the Crunch are going to be ready and waiting again once they get in here, but trying to turn themselves around, and that's Syracuse's biggest thing. Was they got pretty much waxed last year by Belleville. 7 of 8 games Belleville won, and already Syracuse has matched their last year's win total, so that's got to give them a lot of confidence, but the Sens certainly shouldn't hang their heads about the effort. It was great.
Yeah, solid effort, and Jan Yannick, as Brock mentioned, scores his first goal as a Senator. We took a moment to chat with him following the game in Syracuse the other night. How did you feel about the game overall first?
We played hard. We stick up for each other. Great goaltending. I just think we got to be a little smarter to stay out of the box. Other than that, I like how we stick up for each other and just try to get to the dirty areas. So.
You're talking about sticking up for each other. How have you found kind of settling into this group and kind of, ingraining yourself in this team over the last couple of weeks?
Great group of guys. I'm happy to be here. And they took me in, made it really easy for me. So, it's a pleasure to be part of this team.
Yeah, was I guess the summer at Central like for you? You get traded, you have to move up to Canada. What was the summer like for you, and how have you kind of been settling in?
It was. I was really excited to get started. I feel like this is a kind of new chapter or a restart, and I'm just really excited to play good hockey. I like the way we play here, so as I said, exciting stuff.
Yeah, very different market as well. Tucson and Belleville are quite different cities, but nice to maybe get a chance to play up in Canada where the fans take things so seriously.
Agree. Yeah, a big change of scenario, but I love it. Good change.
Yep. And just looking ahead to the home opener next week, how can you guys continue the strong play that you had this weekend despite the result tonight?
We just got to keep playing our game, stick with it. We'll clean up a couple things on a video during the week, and can't wait to get the place in Belleville rocking.
There's Jan Yannick, the forward, after scoring his first goal as a Senator in Syracuse. We asked Dave Bell after the game as well. What do you think of Jan Yannick and the way he's kind of fit in? And Belzy's answer, I like him. He goes, I like him a lot. I like the way he plays. I like his attitude on the bench. I like the energy he brings. And I think everybody downstairs would agree with that. He's been an outstanding addition. And, again, also a guy who's going to hopefully fill the net and find that scoring touch this year.
Yeah, replacement for Igor Sokolov, essentially after those two guys were swapped, and he pretty much hit on all the points that we hit on, David, and that's we stick up for each other. We're banded together well. We battle hard defensively. We're stout. The only thing is just need to find some scoring touch and clean up a couple of things in other areas of the game, and we'll be just fine. And Jan Yannick's got the right attitude about it, and of course he's got some experience in Canada, played in the OHL with the Hamilton, now Brantford Bulldogs, so he knows what it's like, and he doesn't take that for granted. He doesn't take for granted playing for a Canadian team and for a Senators team that everybody feels should be pretty competitive in the North Division, like we said. And nice to see him get off the schneid early, get his first goal, and put that in the back burner and then continue on and keep piling them up. And it's not going to be easy to replace a fan favorite like Igor Sokolov, but certainly Yannick may just become one himself. And the fans ultimately understand that, scenarios change, things change, guys get traded, and overall Yannick should be a pretty key piece of the Sens offense. And if Coach Bell likes you right off the bat, then that's usually a pretty good sign. When he's saying, he's airing that out right away, that's actually a good sign. So that's good.
Absolutely. A lot of question about whether this team would be competitive in the North Division. A lot of hopes that it would be. I would say those questions have been confirmed at least through a couple of games. When we come back, we will chat with new Sens defenseman Wyatte Wylie. We'll hear from the coach later on as well as we preview home opener weekend presented by CAA on this episode of the Belleville Sens podcast. It's episode number 5 of season 3 if you're keeping track at home. And we'll be back right after this on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network.
B-Sens are back. Cheer on your Belleville Senators at the home opener weekend presented by CAA.
Into the line, Montpolo, a shot, tipped in front, they score!
Saturday, October 19th, 7 p.m. Your Sens play the Utica Comets, AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils, at the home opener presented by CAA. Red carpet arrivals starting at 3:30, Kids Zone starting at 4. Plus, free B-Sens noisemaker giveaway courtesy of CAA. Full details on ticket options and more at BellevilleSens.com.
Go, Sens, go!
Back on the Belleville Sens podcast, season number 3, episode number 5. Season number 8 of Belleville Sens hockey is underway, and the Sens are 1-0-0-1 after a win in Rochester and a shootout loss in Syracuse. We'll get you ready for a rematch with the Crunch coming up on Sunday afternoon here at CAA Arena, but not before the Utica Comets come to town on Saturday night for the home opener presented by CAA. Again, tickets at Ticketmaster.ca or box office hours at BellevilleSens.com. And again, we'll get you all that info coming up later on in the program. We recap those season opening games in the last segment. This segment, we're going to key in on one of the new Belleville Senators and chat a little bit about defenseman Wyatte Wylie, who joins Belleville on an AHL contract this summer. Played last year with the Ontario Reign, and also played for a couple of seasons with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms as well. And kind of an interesting story that we're going to talk to him about is the fact that he's from Everett, Washington, and basically played his minor hockey, his grassroots hockey from start to finish right through in his hometown of Everett. Played minor hockey there, played his AAA there. He did start a season in Dallas, so did move out of Washington for at least one season, but otherwise then he spent 4 seasons with his hometown Everett Silvertips in the WHL before turning pro. So we're going to talk to him about staying close to home and being able to develop there, which is pretty cool. But just in a general sense, this is a pretty experienced two-way defenseman that Ryan Bonus and company were able to bring in this season, and I think through a couple of games. You've noticed Wyatte Wylie, but in the right ways for a defenseman. Yeah,
he's steady. He's not going to do anything too crazy or flashy, or he's not going to be anything more than just a simple, solid, steady, stay-at-home defenseman like he has been for his entire pro career to this point. Spent some time in the Philadelphia Flyers system with Lehigh Valley, the Ontario Reign as well, and Greenville in the ECHL. So he's racked up the games now, and he was a bit of a points guy in the Western Hockey League. Ended in his last season, 19-20 with Everett with 64 points, so that's not too shabby at all. But and obviously in the pro game, he understands what he needs to do to really get in the lineup and stay there, and build a foundation for himself, and that's just play simple, steady, stay-at-home hockey and protect the goaltenders and add a little physical element to the game, which is exactly what he's done so far through 2 games. And the fact that he gets in as a 24 turning 25-year-old that has experience, I mean, that's so valuable. And it's not to say that those young guys couldn't, make an impact as well, like Jorian Donovan and Thomas Hamara, but them sitting out and learning from a guy like Wyatte Wylie is so important, and he's not going to be the number one guy that flashes in people's minds when talking about the defense, but certainly he's earned his stripes, and he's definitely won his spot in this Belleville Sens roster. And as long as he stays healthy, I can't see any way that he wouldn't play in just about every game this year to get himself accustomed to life in Belleville and on the Senators team. He's been very, very steady to this point.
You want some proof of that. Some people don't like plus-minus numbers. They're not the be-all and end-all of defensive stats, but I think when you're looking for a very quick glimpse at a guy and maybe what he offers on the defensive side, it's obviously still a good number to look at. And career over 178 games in the American Hockey League, he's a -5, which is not bad. If you look back through his entire career, you can really chalk that -5 career up to one tougher season in Lehigh Valley where he was -7, but otherwise there's one season in junior, his rookie season in junior, his sophomore season in the AHL where he played triple the amount of games that he did in his rookie season, and then a -1 in 22-23 and a -1 to start this season. Take out this season, he's only been a -3 times at the end of the year in his whole career. So this is a guy who's got that defensive acumen, that IQ, and that, as Brock mentioned, can help to kind of tutor these younger Belleville Sens defenders because, Thomas Hamara hasn't got in yet. Jorian Donovan hasn't gotten in yet. Jake Chason hasn't gotten in yet. He's a forward. And then it was Daou flipping in and out with Hayden Hodgson after Friday and Saturday. But I know these young guys are chomping at the bit, and we're going to ask Dave Bell about that as well. How do you work these guys in at this point in the season? But it's so important to put your best players out, your more experienced players out to pick up some points early in the season, but also to lay that foundation, set that groundwork for the younger guys.
Yeah, for sure. And again, Wylie's one of those guys that can do that. And again, another guy that comes from the United States to Canada, it's a bit of an adjustment period. And so far, it doesn't seem like he's really been too bothered by that. He's been, like you say, steady and dependable. And it's so invaluable to sit and learn from those guys and to kind of chat with them and see what they need to do to be a consistent contributor in professional hockey. And what better guy to learn from than a guy like Wylie, and Max Gannett as well is another good guy to learn from. There's a lot of guys last year too that that guys can learn from as well that unfortunately are gone now, like Hetherington, Larson, and Thompson and them. So that's the one thing that Belleville has done exceptionally well is stack the defense with good, solid guys and good, honest pros. And that seems like it's really helped out everybody all the way through. And in the long run, that's going to be huge for the Sens because already they've been strong defensively, allowing 3 goals in the first 2 games. But as everybody knows, sometimes you don't have your best on any given night, and that's one thing that Wylie can maybe do in his quieter way is put your foot down and tell guys when they're doing something wrong.
He's looking like one of the 3 Musketeers with the mustache that he's got rocking right now. But, boy, are we ever glad to have Wyatte Wylie on our side. He's been great through a couple of games, and he's our next guest on season number 3, episode 5 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Thanks for taking a few minutes, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about getting here. You signed with the Senators in the offseason, AHL deal for the year. What was it about the Senators, Belleville maybe, that was such an attractive destination for you?
I just, I like the sound of what the team had going. They, won the first round last year, and, they're looking to build off that. And that's what you play for, to get to that final ending. So, come here, support the youth, do what I can, and, get to that goal for all of us is what I wanted. So.
Yeah, I do want to talk about kind of that leadership role you'll be able to play and your experience as well. But I want to go back to your minor hockey, your junior hockey. You're from Everett, Washington. You basically played your minor grassroots hockey right through the Silvertips junior system. What was it like to be able to kind of develop your game as a young player so close to home for so long?
Yeah, that was just the perfect setup for me. The Western Hockey League is arguably the best league you can, go through as a junior hockey player. And, to be that close to home and, develop there and get 4 to 5 good years was just, the best thing I'd do for me.
Yeah. Did you bill it still, or were you at home with the folks for that time?
No, I got to live at home. I hosted teammates with me every year. I had like 2 or 3 teammates with me every year, so that was cool. But no, I lived at home, which was wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice little perk that a lot of guys don't get.
Absolutely. I lived away from home at 14, so then before I signed in the Western Hockey League. So then I came home and was able to live at home, so it was nice.
For our fans who may not be familiar with you, they may have seen you with Lehigh Valley a few years ago, probably not with Ontario last year. How would you kind of describe yourself? Who are some of the players maybe you've looked up to in your career?
Yeah, I play a two-way style. I like to get up in the rush when it's there, but I'm really good in my own end, and breaking pucks out. That first pass out of our end is, what I take pride in. So, you can see me out there using the body, killing plays, moving pucks.
What about off the ice? What's Everett, Washington like as a hometown, and how do you keep yourself busy when you're not training?
Yeah, if you've ever been to Seattle in the summer, it's absolutely gorgeous, but every other month of the year is normally rain. But, in the summer I golf. I try and get out on the lake as much as I can and, wakeboard and surf and all that stuff. So, just enjoy my time in the off-season in the nice green PNW.
We're chatting with Sens defenseman Wyatte Wylie. What have your first impressions been of Belleville, of the city, of the team, the arena, etc.?
Yeah, it's a great spot. The county out there, on days off is awesome to go out there, and it's, out on the water over there, and it's gorgeous, and it's fun to, go out there and then get out of the city. But, this rink, I've only been here a couple times to play, but, the downstairs area that we get is gorgeous. So it's great.
It's not quite L.A.
It's not LA, but you can't always have LA.
Yeah, for sure. There's certainly some perks to it not being LA as well, I would imagine. You've already got some pretty good connections with a few guys on this team. You played now 3 different teams with Hayden Hodgson, Garrett Pilon for a little bit back in junior as well. How nice is it to have that kind of familiarity with some guys coming into a new place?
Yeah, it seems like I can't get away from Haji right now. But no, it's great. Me and Haji have been friends for years now, and I played with Peels back in 2018, I think, and he was only on our team for a couple months, but we became pretty good friends. So it's awesome to see that again.
We mentioned it off the top. You're a veteran guy. You played in the Atlantic. You played in the Western Conference. Now here you come to the North Division. How much are you looking forward to, getting into what some consider the most competitive division in the league? And how are you hoping to use that experience to help some of the younger guys on this D-Corps?
Yeah, like I said, as a team, we're super excited for this year and in the direction we're going. And for me, I'm here to help the young guys, and any feedback they need, and anything I can help with, I'm here to help. And I'm just excited for this year.
Yeah, what perhaps are you looking forward to most about home opening weekend and continuing with what you guys were able to do last weekend on the road to open?
Yeah, we were happy with last weekend, but you're never satisfied. So we're excited to get on home ice and let the crowd know that we're here for this year and we're ready to go.
There's Wyatte Wylie in your eardrums, and we're watching him here working out with the team. Again, practice ongoing ahead of the home opener presented by CAA against the Utica Comets, AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils, on Saturday night. We are going to preview those games coming up in just a little bit after we hear from head coach Dave Bell. But Brock, maybe just a final thought on Wyatte Wylie and just again what the 24-year-old is going to add to this team. He's going to be here all year. Talk to him about that as well. Not easy to be on an AHL contract in terms of wanting to make the next step, but that comfortability is there, and he knows he's going to be a big piece of this team through the next 70 games.
For sure, yeah, and that's the stability part of it that a lot of people don't see because of the fact that the AHL by nature is very chaotic, if you will. It's very not stable, to say the least, with some guys that are up and down. Like you're already seeing him with Mads Sogard. He's been doing that for the last probably 3-4 seasons, up and down like a yo-yo through Belleville and Ottawa. So for Wyatte Wylie, it doesn't matter whether it's in the NHL or the AHL. The fact that he's here for the whole season under an AHL contract is so huge, and he can put down roots in Belleville or in the Quinte region at least and stay here and not have to worry about packing his bags, hopefully, and moving. So that's absolutely massive for him, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can bring to this Belleville Senators group, because he's going to be one of those key pieces on the back end with the likes of Gannett and Jeremy Davies and Nick Montempolo and all those guys. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him so far, and hopefully it continues here through the rest of the remaining 70 games.
We'll get some more thoughts on Wyatte and more with the coach next as this episode of the Belleville Sens podcast continues. Sens getting set for the home opener presented by CAA coming up on Saturday night. So we are right back with Coach Dave Bell. This is the Belleville Sens podcast on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network.
Skate into the holiday season with the Stars. Stars on Ice 2024 Holiday Tour with figure skating icon Elvis Stoico, Olympic medalist Caitlin Osmond, Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poge, Keegan Messing, Satoko Miyahara, Elijah Valde, and more. Stars on Ice, coming to CAA Arena December 8th. Unwrap your tickets at starsonice.ca.
Belleville Sens podcast continues, episode 5 of season 3. David Foote, Brock Ormond here. Again, tickets for home opener weekend presented by CAA, and in fact, all games through the first half of the season are on sale right now at Ticketmaster.ca or the Belleville Sens box office. You can head to BellevilleSens.com to check the box office hours. We hope to see everybody here this weekend. 7 p.m. start against the Utica Comets on Saturday, but of course we've got the player red carpet arrivals at 3:30, the Fan Fest and more, all pre-game. Free noisemakers courtesy of CAA, and then on Sunday our first matinee of the season, a 3 p.m. start, and that's against the Syracuse Crunch with a full team autograph signing after the game. Lots happening here at the rink this weekend, and we hope to see you here to welcome the boys back to town. Dave Bell, I think, would like to see a full building as well. He was super impressed by what he was able to see from the fan base last year. I think we all were, come playoff time, and the way that the city and fans really rallied around the group, and we're hoping that continues. 4.5 months is a long time, but hopefully fans are still pumped and excited for the B-Sens to be back, and we'll hear from the coach in just a couple of minutes. It does seem, though, Brock, like all of the things we talked about through training camp, and I think we mentioned this earlier on too, everything seems to have translated really nicely into regular season action for the Belleville Senators. The systems, the chemistry, the work ethic that we talked about, all of those things seem to be clicking. Again, small sample size and early, but better than things being a mess through 2 games.
Right, exactly. You take that, take the positive side of things when you're thinking of the system and how it works. And yeah, so far defensively, it's been great. And like Coach Bell would say, and we've said it, that the nicest thing is to put the puck in the net, maybe a smidge more, and I'm sure that'll eventually come. But again, Belleville, they're not beating the allegations as they say that they're a good one-goal team, because they found a way to win again in a one-goal game. They kept it close against Syracuse, lost by a goal in a shootout, again, completely up in the air. I don't think that Coach Bell, outside of a 2-0 start, where the team scores 5, 6, 7 goals in each game, I don't think Coach can be too displeased with the amount of positives he's seeing and the effort that he's seeing. And for a guy like Phil Daou to score a game-winning goal too, guy that's been around the team for the last couple of years but injured, that's a good start, and that's a good again building block to kind of extrapolate from, if you will. And he definitely can't be too displeased with the effort. He said it too, like we say in the post game. He was so happy with the defensive effort, and now it's just about building off. And if they can start to find the net a little more, and again, it's easier said than done because of how good every AHL team is defensively, it seems. So especially here in the North Division, where close games were the norm last season and really the last couple seasons. So he's got the guys that he can do it with, and now it's just about really getting them revved up and starting to key their engine a little bit more, and they'll be in a really good spot.
Well, let's hear from the coach. How's he feeling after opening weekend, and how's he feeling head into home opening weekend? Let's ask him. Here's Dave Bell on Season 3, Episode 5 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Coach, how's the mood been this week, coming off a pretty strong start, Thanksgiving dinner as well, and getting ready to welcome fans back to the rink here?
Mood's been good. Work mentality, though. I mean, we weren't perfect, far from perfect, so a lot of work to be done. But guys are in good spirits. Obviously, you get 3 or 4, you're in better than not. But a lot of work to be done.
What are some of the areas that you'd like to improve on? I'm sure a couple more pucks in the net would be one of them.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, obviously all facets of the game this early in the season, but staying out of the penalty box and not spending much time in D-zone. And then I think, conversely, if you spend less time in the D-zone, you'll have the puck in the other end, and maybe you will score more goals.
Yeah. What are some of the things you did well last week and that you're reinforcing this week in practice?
Well, our penalty kill was really good, and I know it's probably not allowed to be said, but we stuck up for each other real well. You knew when there was a scrum that would be 5 guys in there tight. I was super proud of the guys for that, but the overall pace of the play in that game 1 was pretty high, and they kept their pace. So we'll continue to work, but everything needs to keep getting better.
It was expected, I think, but the camaraderie and the togetherness of this group has manifested itself pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's a credit to the leadership group. I know Garrett had some guys over to his house, for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So our leadership group is strong. They don't leave anybody behind on the ice or off the ice, and that's a good thing.
I wanted to ask about some of the younger players, guys like Thomas Amara, Jorian Donovan, who maybe won't play as much as young players, but how do you kind of work them in and just get them introduced to life as pro players and maybe deal with that not playing every day kind of situation?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough for those guys mentally. I think they're in a good spot. They're living with, Hamera has moved in with Yannick, who's an older player that's been through the rigors of up and downs, and Jorian's living with some guys that have been here before, so that certainly helps. But you know what? Credit to those guys. They work extremely hard in practice. They go out early and do extra. They stay out late and do extra. So, and they're in on all the team video and all the systematic stuff. So it's just a matter of time before they get in. But they've been working extremely hard and very attentive and doing extra. So it's good.
We're chatting with Wyatte Wylie this week as well, so I thought I'd get a thought on him, what he's bringing to this team as one of the more experienced blue liners that you've got.
Yeah, he's a simple guy, blue-collar guy. He knows his role. Very, very low-maintenance guy, really nice guy. But again, when you don't notice him on the ice, that's a good thing, and we didn't notice him a lot this weekend. So that's what he does. That's what he brings. He brings quiet stability, and that's what he's been so far.
And heading into the home opener this weekend, maybe what's impressed you most about your group through a couple of games and training camp?
Just their focus. That's been a long training camp. That's 3 weeks in Ottawa, a couple long weeks of practice here where it gets a little monotonous and a little stale, and they've stuck with it and they've stayed focused. So pretty good on these guys for being pros right off the hop.
So there's the coach, obviously, like we said, satisfied, I think, with how things have gone so far, but nobody is ever truly satisfied in this game unless you're winning all the time and winning championships. So we'll see what the team is able to do here this weekend and build off of a successful opening weekend in Rochester and Syracuse. They're going to see the Syracuse Crunch again, Brock, this weekend, and we're expecting, like we did on Saturday, that to be another really tight checking affair. We love when the division rivals come to town, which is frequent, but we will break down these meetings. When we come back, we'll tell you who you should be looking out for on the opposition sides this weekend, as well as what the Senators will need to do to be victorious. That's coming up in our final segment of Episode 5 of Season 3 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Stay with us. Halliday's in with a shot. Rebound! Scores! Garrett Pilon in overtime!
Be there for the next great Belleville Sens moment. Single game tickets for 2024-25 Belleville Sens first half home games are now on sale through Ticketmaster or the Belleville Sens box office. Get into the action as the Belleville Senators aim to make more AHL history at CAA Arena. For info on tickets, box office hours, group experiences, partnership opportunities, and more, visit BellevilleSens.com and be part of the team.
Into our final segment this week on the Belleville Sens podcast. Interviews are all gassed out. Thanks again to Jan Yannick for his time after the game in Syracuse the other night before we hit the road. And thanks to Coach and Wyatte Wylie for their time as well. Everybody's excited to get back in front of the home fans this weekend, and you can be here. It's real easy. Just head to Ticketmaster.ca, find your tickets. And that's it. That's literally all you have to do, and you'll be able to take part in our home opener. You'll be able to meet the players before the game starting at 3:30 on Saturday. Young ones can take part in the Fan Fest. We've got inflatables, bouncy castles, the shooter tutor I'm sure will be out. All of that fun stuff. And then free noisemakers from CAA, of course, who doesn't like making a little noise on home opener night. That is the point. Sunday, at 3 p.m., Syracuse is here. There's a full team autograph signing after that. So these are some of the best chances early in the season that you're going to get up close and personal with the Belleville Senators. So tickets at Ticketmaster.ca or head to BellevilleSens.com for box office hours and more information on group experiences, premium seating, season seat memberships, and more, all at BellevilleSens.com. Let's preview the opponent, Brock, that we'll see first. The Utica Comets, who come into this season after, frankly, a disappointing year in the North Division. Honestly, every time we went to Utica, something felt off in terms of what it's typically been like in the past. Usually Utica is a sold-out barn every single night. They didn't seem to be drawing the crowds at perhaps the same numbers, and they weren't finding the success that you usually see from Comets teams. They finished just ahead of Laval in the standings and missed the playoffs, and just not a great year that they're looking to build from, or rebuild from, as it were, but not a great couple of games to start the season for them either.
No, it was a tough one against Syracuse. It's the first time it was a 5-0 loss, and then Syracuse comes in and beats Belleville the next night in the shootout. So, that right there is Exhibit A of what not to do, obviously, when you're going into a season. You get beat like that. But, the Utica Comets are always a tough team to beat. The Sens did have some pretty decent success against them. Had a comeback win on the road, I remember, last year. They shut them out here at CAA Arena, 3-0 one game. There was another pretty solid victory here at CAA Arena against this Comets team. But, the New Jersey Devils organization, it was just overall not a great year in terms of the expectations they had. The Devils in 22-23 made the NHL playoffs, won a round, went on to round 2 after finishing up high in their division. And Utica made it as well this year, or last season rather. New Jersey missed. They had a real disappointing year, and it just seemed to kind of trickle down to the AHL affiliate. And Utica just never really seemed to get off on the right foot. They got a lot of talented players. They had, the likes of Graham Clark and several other guys that could really, dial up the offense. And unfortunately, nothing really ever seemed to click. And Belleville always played them tough, and quite frankly, the Sens were the better team against in the last season and really the last couple years, but you never can take them too lightly. They're a team that you're expecting a bounce back from this season, and I'm sure they'll be hungry and probably a team that is really boosting themselves up and getting ready to put the boots to Belleville and try and spoil their home opener like Belleville did to Rochester last Friday.
Yeah, that's right. The Comets, they've only scored once over 2 games. They've been outscored 9-1. And as the Senators, I think with that team coming in, you can look at that 2 ways. You can look at it as, well, boy, here's the perfect chance for us to get our offense going. Or you could look at it as, well, those floodgates for the Comets might be just about to burst here early on, so you can't just go full-on offense. You still have to play that responsible defensive game that's led to the early success here and that those results last year as well.
That's right, and keep piling the shots up too, and we talk about their offensive guys. You had Clark last year. Ryan Schmelzer, their captain, was pretty tough to beat as well. Max Willman, a guy that Belleville's seen quite a bit over the years. Justin Dowling, Samuel LeBerge, all guys that are AHL vets, and sometimes just all it takes is just something to happen and for them to burst. So like you said, it's got to be a tight defensive stance again, and goaltending-wise, they've been good. Like Isaac Poulter and Nico Dawes were both great last year and did what they could do to help Utica try and bring themselves up to speed. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. And now this year, they can't afford, like you say, David, 9-1 being outscored in the first 2 games against Syracuse and Rochester. That's a good point on Belleville's end because they held them to each team, those teams, to 3 goals. By comparison, 4 if you count the shootout winner. But that's the big thing with Belleville is not taking this team lightly, not taking for granted. This is a team that can surprise you, and always in the North Division, it's a difficult night no matter who the opponent is. So they got to be ready, and they got to keep Utica at bay because they do have some offensive threats.
And Kevin Dineen's a good coach, so
yes.
He's going to identify what's not worked through the first couple of games and likely have some of those issues rectified for his club as they hit the road for the first time this season. So that's Saturday night, 7 p.m., the Utica Comets, AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils. Brock mentioned some of those big names for them. Max Willman was up in the NHL for 18 games last season. Nolan Foote played in the first game of the year, but did not play in the second game. Ryan Schmelzer has been their go-to goal scorer. So a lot of pretty good players. Chase Stillman, former first-round pick to New Jersey, is in their lineup as well. So lots of players on the other side to watch, along with those guys from Belleville we've been touting for the last few weeks. The Syracuse Crunch now, Belleville is a little bit familiar with them. They've at least had a taste of what the Crunch will bring, albeit on the road and in a tough building that is the Upstate Medical University Arena. But CAA Arena is a tough place to play too, and Belleville and Syracuse, as we've said this show, we've said enough times in the past, always match up well. So again, it's just a matter of keep doing those things that have led to the success, and theoretically, pot 1 or 2 more and do the same things you did on Saturday, and you should be just fine.
Yeah, for sure, and they got some threats too. Like I mentioned, Lucas Edmonds is named quite a bit on Saturday. Former Kingston Frontenac, a guy that has that touch around the net and a little bit of flair as well for the dramatic, if you will. And the Syracuse Crunch are always a difficult team because they can lay the body effectively, and we've seen it. With the likes of Edmonds and Declan Carlisle as well, our favorite former Wellington Duke, as we always like to say, a guy that we said, back in when he played here back in 2017-18 in Wellington, we said this guy's going to be a professional hockey player one day because he's got that mindset and he's got that look about him. But, overall, the Syracuse Crunch, they can really give Belleville a hard time. They can play those tight-checking, lower-scoring games like we've said, but they can also really fly open with the offense. And there was a 6-5 game I remember last season here in Belleville that was just wild. And Syracuse, when Belleville started to really get going offensively, they matched it well too. And that's the thing that's scary about a team like that is they can play whatever style of game you want to play. And they can do it pretty well and pretty effectively. But, of course, Syracuse has that mindset or that record in the back of their head. And again, they're, if you ask any of those crunch players, they'll say, well, that was last season. This isn't the same thing this season. It's a different group on both sides. But you can bet the guys from last year have that in their heads. 7-1 Belleville went. And again, it's a very new season, so I imagine Syracuse will probably have that in the back of their heads, and they're going to be thinking about what we got to do to try and break through that curtain, that iron curtain that the Belleville Senators have, and try and get some more wins, especially here in Belleville where they never did win last year.
And a lot of injuries for the Syracuse Crunch right now as well. Gage Gonzalez, who's one of their top players, is out. Former Belleville Senator Logan Brown is hurt again. Gabriel Dumont, their longtime captain, is injured. So there's a ton of players that are not in the lineup. And, again, another opportunity for Belleville to try to take advantage of that on short rest for the first time this season, because that'll be Sunday afternoon. So both good games coming up this weekend. Again, Saturday, 7 p.m., the pregame festivities beginning around 3:30 with the red carpet arrival, and then Sunday, 3 p.m., and the postgame full-team autograph signing after the game. Ticketmaster.ca for tickets or BellevilleSens.com. Bit of housekeeping, couple more news and notes before we go. Sens abroad, B-Sens abroad. Pretty interesting night for Philip Gustafson last night as he scores a goal for the Minnesota Wild. Yeah,
that was awesome to see that come up on the timeline against the St. Louis Blues, and it was a power play goal, no less, too, with the net empty, a 2-goal Minnesota lead. So Phil takes the shot, and he nailed it right in the far left corner. Perfect-looking shot, and he ends up making some history, becoming the 15th goaltender to score a goal in the NHL and the 18th total goaltender, because a couple of them had more than one, the likes of Martin Brodeur and Ron Hextall. So nice to see Philip Gustafson enter that very exclusive club of goaltenders that have picked up goals. Of course, Mike Smith, Pekka Rinne, Hextall, Brodeur, just all the way down the list, some pretty impressive names. And very nice to see Philip Gustafson have success, too, in Minnesota, because he had a shutout going, let's not forget, in the last 9 minutes or so of the game last night. So he's played exceptionally well, and nice to see him get an NHL shot, too. Here in Ottawa, he was steady in Belleville. Certainly a guy that you really root for and you pull for, and that was awesome to see him make a little bit of history last Tuesday night.
The Belleville Sens, he's second place in games played as a goaltender to Mads Sogard. He's second place in wins by a goaltender to Mads Sogard. He's second place in saves by a goaltender to Mads Sogard, but he still holds the Belleville Senators records for now with Sogi for minutes played and shutouts with 4, and Sogi needs 2 more still to catch Gus there. So congratulations to Philip Gustafson on that fantastic achievement. We miss him here in Belleville, but we're glad to see him finding some success out there. I think we're just about done on this week's episode. Practice looks like it's about to wrap up. We got to get down and snap some pictures and do a few interviews and get ready. But, Brock, how excited are you for the weekend? I think you're on the call with me Saturday night, right?
Believe so, yes. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, we're pumped to get back and to see what the Sens can do on home ice. It was a good start to the season, as we mentioned. Nice to pick up a few points and bring them back home and see what they can do here. Again, you've seen this team enough on the ice. You watched them a little bit on the road last weekend. I'm sure you're pretty pumped to see them in person in game action, too.
For sure, and it should be a great crowd on Saturday night. Hoping for close to 4,000 or a high 3,000s in terms of attendance. I'm sure you'll see a lot of the old regulars out to cheer on the group and cheer loud and proud as well. I know there's a few fans out there in B-Sens land that are really itching to get back out there and see the team play. And there's I don't believe anything else happening that's big Saturday night. So I mean, why not come down?
There's not.
There's nothing. There's nothing that's gonna beat Belleville Sens home opener hockey. And you get to see player introductions, which is always fun. You get all the pomp and circumstance and the hype of a new season. And, of course, like we say, 3 points out of a possible 4 in the first road weekend of the year. Not too shabby at all. So I'm sure the fans will appreciate that and like to see Belleville really put the nose to the grindstone and put Utica out of it early, get the crowd pumped, and ultimately get a victory on home opener night. Belleville's been successful the last couple home opener nights, including last year when they beat the Laval Rockets. So should expect some pretty big crowd and some people that are really excited to see the Sens come back again.
Once again, Ticketmaster.ca or BellevilleSens.com to get your tickets. The red carpet starting at 3:30, the Fan Fest at 4 on Saturday, free noisemakers from CAA as well on Saturday night, and then on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. against Syracuse, and the full team available for autograph signing after the game. We hope to see you there, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Belleville Sens podcast. Thanks again to Wyatte Wylie and to Coach and to Jan Yannick for their time, and to you, as always, for listening. Brock and I will talk to you next week on episode 6 of season 3 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Enjoy home opener weekend presented by CAA. We'll leave you with Xavier Bourgault's first goal as a Senator, our highlight of the week. Here's Reinhardt in the right circle. Reinhardt into the slot. Quick shot in tight. Rebound. Scores! Xavier Bourgault will open the scoring this season for the Senators. It's a power play marker. And Belleville have evened things up late in the first period.